Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine?
Dirty.
What's up, everybody? You are listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie, the official K-State representative on the College Huddle. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the good chef, Andre Napier, and Fireball, Matt Marchesini. Tonight, we're sharing our final predictions for all 16 teams in the Big 12. We're going to go week by week and share our game of the weeks. We're not going to go through every single matchup, not all 8 matchups every single week, but we're going to pick like a game of the week every single week. And then by the time we get to week 14, we're going to have our predictions because we all went through a simulator exercise. I gave these guys some homework to go through every single game of the Big 12 season and pick who's going to win every single matchup. So we have our choices. But first, before we dive into the episode, we first want to give a shout out to our 2 sponsors, Annie Mae's Parlor and Pat's Beef Jerky. This show is brought to you by Annie Mae's Parlor, located at 616 North 12th Street, right in the heart of Aggieville. We've got our koozies, we're flashing our swag, and we love everything about it. Annie Mae's has been in business, just like the koozie says, for 50 years and is an absolute must-visit destination in Aggieville on game days and school nights alike. It is also where I had my first legal alcoholic beverage with my good friend Trent Jones back in 2013. Annie Mae's is far and away my favorite destination in Aggieville, and I always make a point to go visit my auntie every time I go back to the Little Apple. They feature a wide variety of craft cocktails like my Moscow Mule here, and draft beers, everything in between, along with entertainment like live music, comedy, and all sorts of other events every single week. Check out their website, www.antimaze.com, to get a list of all of their upcoming events, and go visit your auntie in MHK at 616 North 12th Street in the heart of Aggieville, and be sure to tell them Cocaine Willie sent you. Additionally, this show is brought to you by Pat's Beef Jerky, located at 401 North Main Street. Well, not North or South Main Street, just Main Street. Liebenthal is not that big, in Liebenthal, Kansas. Pat's Beef Jerky has been serving up the finest beef jerky in the Midwest for 34 years strong and feature mouthwatering flavors like the classic beef jerky I just shared on my screen there, teriyaki, oh my goodness, beef jerky, and my personal favorite, the savory beef pepper sticks. There are 3 places where you can get yourself some Pat's Beef Jerky. You can go ahead and pick it up at either the Fridge Liquor Store in Manhattan or at their original store at 401 Main Street in Liebenthal. And last but not least, you can also get your Pat's Beef Jerky online at www.patsbeefjerky.com. And if you use the promo code CATS at checkout, that's CATS with a C, you will receive 10% off of your next order. So go use that promo code CATS at checkout and visit www.patsbeefjerky.com to place your order today. Both of those websites are listed on our banner below if you're watching this on video. And that's going to do it for my diatribe. Boys, what did you think about this exercise, first and foremost, before we dive in?
Can we go back? Where was your first illegal alcoholic drink?
It did sound like you said illegal.
That was
and
that would have
Annie Mae's
been
does not approve of that.
That would have been in Maggie Wilson's basement in Derby,
Hey,
Kansas,
yo.
second semester my senior year of high school.
Wow, really throwing out actual names too.
It was the summer
Awesome.
brew. It was a summer brew, and they had Jello shots, and I think I
Wow.
gagged on some of those Jello shots. But yeah,
Wow.
I have a
What about
good
you?
Jello shot
What about
story,
you?
but we'll share that in a different time.
well now I need to know
Basically-
where both of you had yours.
My first illegal drink was probably in the basement of, I want to say, one Brandon King's house, but it doesn't matter. You know, it was Everclear, and it was a bad
Doesn't matter.
bad first drink. You know, Everclear is not the one thing that you want to start off with. It really threw me, away from alcohol for a long time. So, thank you, Everclear.
That as that does. Um, well, it was probably in a backyard of a buddy in high school. He had a lot of land, and we went back there and drank
Doing what boys
Labatt,
do.
Labatt Blues or Molson.
My mom's definitely watching this podcast, so Mom, I'm making up all these stories.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm a grown man now.
Everclear.
When I think of Everclear, I think of the song Santa Monica, not the
Okay.
horrible alcoholic beverage.
Wait, not wonderful. Everything is wonderful now, right?
I mean, yeah, but
That's their number one hit.
Santa Monica's better. Santa Monica's definitely their number one hit, but it doesn't matter because we all went through. No, I never got your thoughts. What were your thoughts on the exercise of going through
Oh,
week
thought
and picking every single matchup?
ad read was the exercise, and you wanted us to give you
No,
props.
the exercise was the homework.
No, I don't need the positive affirmation.
The homework we received, I think it was necessary. It really put me into perspective of what, like, I got a lot of takes out there on the internet, and I kind of had to see if I could back them up. And I think it's kind of hard in this Big 12 to get your predictions all squared away. But I think I did a pretty good job in what I think is going to be accurate down the road 14 weeks from now.
It was fun in a general sense, I guess. It really makes you kind of look holistically at the Big 12 and what teams are playing which teams are playing who this season. And it kind of shows a little bit of, I guess, from a conference perspective, being in a 16-team conference, what are the expectations of the number of teams that are going to make a bowl game and the number of teams that are, potentially going to be in the running to make the college football playoff, who might be in Arlington for the Big 12 championship game and who is going to be absolute cheeks this season, which I think we all picked a different worst team, I'm pretty sure. So
I thought we all picked the same worst team.
Oh,
Wait,
maybe.
no.
Yeah, I think Matt's the only one different, but
You're
Bob
pretty high. You're pretty high on an ASU relative to the both.
Let's not spoil it.
We'll get to that. But
and then we can talk about the exercise of how you would call being high on ASU when we get to that point.
Yes.
Like, how is that
relative
Yeah.
to the both of us?
Uh-huh.
All right. I mean, let's just get into it. Let's go through week by week. We're going to start with week 1. There are some interesting games on this slate, but I wouldn't say any of them are really that noteworthy. I mean,
I'm excited about one for sure.
For me, like it's interesting because you've got two like perennial FCS top 5 teams going up against Oklahoma State and CU respectively. I know Matt and I, Chef, we don't have your answers on here for games of the week for every week, so I'm curious to see what you pick. But those two intrigue me, but that's not my game of the week. But I'll start with Matt. What do you have for your week 1 game of the week?
Maybe if I push the button, it'll
Unmute
operate.
yourself.
Yeah. Penn State at West Virginia is going to be a very interesting game. I'm not super high on West Virginia this season. That being said, watching Penn State play a handful of games last season, like Drew Aller has to really step up this season, especially in a Big Ten that brings in number 1 Oregon team that's going to be a top 5 team. Ohio State, obviously, in the top 5. Drew Aller has to really step up this season if they are going to sniff a potential college football playoff berth. That's my opinion. West Virginia, a lot of people are high on West Virginia, and a lot of it has to do with Garrett Green. And if West Virginia is going to prove to people, hey, we want to be a part of the conversation in the Big 12, they have to be competitive in this game. being the first game of the season. It's obviously in the Big 12, the only major conference matchup in the Big 12 for the week 1. So naturally, I think this has got to be it. And it's a geographical rivalry game of sorts, if you think about it too. So it's going to be fun. I can't remember if it's an 11 a.m. kick or whatnot, but Morgantown will be very drunk, very crazy. So I'm going with that game.
Yeah, that's a noon Eastern kickoff, and that's also my answer for game of the week is West Virginia Penn State. I think another wrinkle to this is you've got Andy Kotelnicki at Penn State now, and West Virginia has played KU of recent memory, so they're going to be familiar with some of the scheming and stuff that Kotelnicki's going to be throwing at that West Virginia defense. So I think it's fun because it's a matchup where it's not just total lack of familiarity. And these two teams also played last year in the matchup in Happy Valley. So I've got that because really the rest of the matchups, TCU Stanford isn't intriguing to me really all that much. An ACC Big 12 matchup, which is amazing to me. And then the other two games that week that I'm probably going to be watching the most closely are going to be North Dakota State and South Dakota State going up against CU and Oklahoma State respectively. So that's my answer is Penn State, West Virginia.
I'm going to go what you just mentioned, Bob. I'm going to go Oklahoma State versus South Dakota State. The number 1 team in the FCS, they're really, really hot right now. And historically, over the past few seasons, Oklahoma State has struggled with their opening games versus FCS or MAC opponents. I remember, 2 years ago that they went in a battle with Central Michigan, and the year before that they lost to Central Michigan.
And last year they lost to South Alabama.
And they lost to South Alabama last year. And with the questions going into this year earlier with Ollie Gordon potentially being hurt, and people are talking about that and potential suspensions, all this stuff. I think without your best player going against a really rugged FCS, I think they're defending champs, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to have your hands full. So I'm going to go that. I've got my eye on that game. I think Penn State's just going to, I think they're going to do some weird things to West Virginia. They've got their number on that one. It's going to get ugly out in those mountains.
You really think so? You think?
I think so. I think Drew Aller is statistically he was there. Obviously, the Penn State offense was anemic versus really good teams, like you laid out perfectly. But I think Andy Kotelnicki can give him what he did for Jason Bean, and I think Aller is a better quarterback than Jason Bean. I think they have similar game. He's not as mobile as Bean, but I feel like he can do some things to help him and facilitate better than they did versus the really good opponents on their schedule last year. But yeah, I think Penn State's gonna, they've got something to prove because they've been a merchant of being, not winning any games, but still getting praise for it out there. At least not big games. They mop up with whatever that was, the Big Ten East or Big Ten champions or whatever they used to call those legends and whatever they used to call those divisions back
legends
in the day.
and leaders.
Yeah.
Legends and leaders. And I guess so for your game of the week, who do you have winning that matchup?
I do have South Dakota State winning that.
I do as well. Matt, who do you have in that one?
No way.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
I think they're gonna choke it away. Too much noise out of there, man.
Let's put it this way: I have North Dakota State being Colorado. I think that's the upset.
I can see that.
The reason why I just think from an Oklahoma State perspective, I think Oklahoma State's a really solid team, and you can't discount a home field advantage early on in the season, especially the first game of the year.
But they had those the past few seasons.
That's true. I understand. But I would say that out of the past few seasons, like Oklahoma State has the talent that will get them over the hump like that game. that's that. I mean, I just think
Lord
that
Jesus, Joe.
Oklahoma State, I think it's going to be a competitive game. I don't think it's one that Oklahoma State's going to lose, but I do think North Dakota State is the one to watch out for from an FCS upset perspective.
I think those are fair points, and shout out to Joe Tillery in the comments saying Alan Bowman Heisman season. I think that
I don't
may
know
more,
about that.
that may more so be the affinity of two mustached redheaded men.
I will say, like one thing about Oklahoma State is if Alan Bowman struggles early on in the season, it could be like a 2023 K-State scenario where they put Zane Flores in and they play a true freshman for the season. I mean, if Alan Bowman struggles.
I mean, listen to this. I mean, just going back, okay, 20. If you want to discount 2020, I'm all there for it. You can do that if you want. But hold on, where I lost it. My bad, fellas. This is bad podcasting. But where's it at? Oklahoma State 2020. They struggled with Tulsa 7-16 in their opening game. 2021, their opening game versus Missouri State, they won 16-23. And then they struggled with Tulsa the next week, 23-28. 2022, their opening game versus Central Michigan, they won, but it was 44-58. 2023, just last year, it was a slobber knocker with freaking Central Arkansas 13-27. And then in South Alabama, they get drugged 33-7. They're not the team that you think they are in these opening games where it's out of the realm of possibility that South Dakota State can't beat them.
That was exactly my postulation too with this. If Oklahoma State's notorious for getting off to slow starts, and especially in recent seasons, I just think the odds, I would put money on South Dakota State in that game to at least cover.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you Oklahoma State's going to be getting a few points on that with it being a home game too. I would bet money that South Dakota State covers that. But any other week one commentary before we move on to week two?
I'm excited for week two. Week two looks good.
Week two is fun. Matt, who you have in week two?
I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. Going back to Oklahoma State, I think the Arkansas at Oklahoma State game is going to be a really fun one. Looking at kind of week two, and you said week two, there's some fun games, and you could probably say, oh man, 3 of these games would maybe be kind of the ones to look out for, 3 or 4 of them. But I think Arkansas coming into Stillwater, Arkansas is a team that really Sam Pittman's got to perform this season and get a team rolling in the SEC. That's going to be very tough to do. But again, I mean, you're going on the road against an Oklahoma State team, which, I mean, as you said, they don't start the season off very well. But this is one that also is a good temperature check for Oklahoma State, you know, beating an SEC team at home to get ready for Big 12 play. So I picked that game as the game of the week.
And they played to the level of their competition a little bit. And I think them having an SEC opponent, granted, one that's been a bit of a bottom dweller the last year or two, I think even though they haven't been as good lately, they don't have KJ anymore, Sam Pittman might be on his way out, I still think Oklahoma State's going to get up for that game, and they're going to play them like an SEC opponent. And if you're going to put the SEC on a pedestal like everybody else seems to, then I think Oklahoma State fans and the team are really going to get up for that one. My pick is El Assico. Obviously, it's one of my favorite games to watch every year because I love punting and I love zero offense, and I just love seeing Iowa beat the crap out of Iowa State every year. Nothing provides me more joy, or few things provide me more joy than watching Iowa beat the crap out of Iowa State year in and year out. So I'm going with El Assico. It's in Kinnick this year. I wouldn't give Iowa State a chance to win that game.
Man, that's a good pick. Those are good picks. I'm going K-State Tulane. I think it's going to be fun. K-State going on an early road trip into New Orleans. They've got a lot of high-end transfers. We'll see if any of them are starting or any of that stuff. But I like this, and I think it's a revenge spot for K-State. There's some players on that team from a couple seasons ago that got, upset by Tulane, even though turns out Tulane was really, really good that season. I'm going with the Tulane game. I think it's probably the most. You guys had some good picks. I'm surprised that Matt didn't go with Albany. That's his brand right there.
Great Danes.
He didn't go with
Danes.
the Danes. He didn't go with the Danes versus West Virginia. I think it's more of a hate towards West Virginia kind of thing with him. But yeah, there's some really good games though. Colorado going to Nebraska. I think if Nebraska, if what you're saying is true and you think they're getting upset by North Dakota State, this could be in a really bad spot for Dion if he loses to Nebraska on the road. It could get 0-2 for Colorado with all the shit that they're talking is not a good spot to be in.
Granted, I think everybody can agree. Maybe we can't. I think Nebraska is going to be better this year than they were last year.
The defense is going to be tough.
And they've got a 5-star quarterback in Dylan Raiola. I'm assuming he's going to be the starter.
Yeah,
I think they're going to have more talent and better coaching than CU's going to have. And as we've all learned, Dion isn't the best in-game coach out there. That's
I'd
based off of last year's sample size. He's not the best in-game, not the best at making adjustments, not the best at in that Stanford game is kind of an epitome of that. But anyway, I would definitely have CU Nebraska as kind of my honorable mention. Do you have Tulane winning that game? Do you have K-State winning that game? I think
K-State. Oh, K-State.
Yeah, they've had that circled for 2 years now.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a true road test for Avery. I think this is where we're going to iron out those kinks from that first game. I mean, in all honesty, I would hope that at halftime the starters are starting to get pulled in that game, and then we get a real true test.
And so I guess again around the horn, Archie and Okie State. Who do y'all have winning that one?
Oklahoma State.
I got Oklahoma State. Yeah, Arkansas is in a bad spot with Pittman. I think Pittman steps down before the end of this year.
Agreed.
Bring back Bobby.
Whoa. Where's he? Is he coaching?
He's the offensive coordinator at Arkansas right now.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's wearing the neck collar right now.
Bring him back.
What was that face for, Matt? When I said that we were going to pull those starters at halftime?
You think we're going to win? We're going to be up.
We're going to beat the hell out of Tennessee, Martin. What are you talking about?
I thought you were talking about Tulane.
Oh no, I'm saying
Why are you talking about Tennessee Martin in week 2?
Because I said that I think we're going to really work out the kinks in this Tulane game because I don't think Tennessee Martin's going to be much of a challenge when we actually have some players across from us that we're going to need to actually work on some things. I think this is the game where we're going to work out on the road. The heads. I think this is where the game with the headsets, all that stuff is really going to get worked out. Where you're on the road, a pretty good team, and you got to go out there and win the game. So I think Tennessee Martin's got no chance. So Tulane is really that tune-up game and going into a Friday game. We're talking about week 3.
Okay. You weren't clear, but
I'm sorry.
Anybody have takes on El Assico before we move on? Matt was making some faces.
I don't know. First off, this game is always competitive, no matter where it's played.
It's true.
And
I don't disagree.
And it's Iowa, so the game's going to be low scoring, and it's going to be close in the late stages of the game.
You're thinking about an Iowa team that had Brian Ferentz as their offensive coordinator, though.
I understand, but everything that I've read about Iowa football, which is like 3 articles from The Athletic, they've been saying Cade McNamara has been struggling.
Let's bring Russ on. Get Russ.
Yeah, we need Russ.
Get Russ. Yeah. Hard
Russ,
pass.
if you're listening to this, please chime in. Please let us know.
Pass.
We'd love to have you on to talk about trench warfare, aka Iowa football. All right, week 3. Let's move on. I know we have a consensus from 2 of us on which game of the week we have chosen for this one. But curious from let's start with Chef this time because I know Matt and I have the same choice.
I think looking at these games, in terms, well, I think it's not the game that's the best game. I'm not going to do it like that. I think I'm going to go a little different because I think we would all be consensus on, K-State versus Arizona. I think that would be the consensus, but I'm looking at it a little different. The opening game for Big 12 play in the new look Big 12, 16 teams, is that actually counts as a conference game, is UCF TCU. And that one is going to be fun because UCF has got a lot of smoke behind it, and TCU has been kind of lurking in the shadows. Nobody's talked about TCU at all. Maybe it's for good reason because they probably stink. But at home, UCF's going on the road to Fort Worth. The opening game of the new look Big 12, I think that one's going to be really, really fun. KJ Jefferson, does he have the chops to win in this Big 12? I think that's going to be really, really important. And whoever wins that game is top of the 12, like my boy Scott Wildcat would say, top of the 12, having a laugh.
I think that'll be a good litmus test for both teams too, because there's a ton of people talking about UCF being the dark horse. We've said it here ourselves.
Yep.
And if they if they steamroll TCU in that game, everybody's going to be talking about UCF.
Yep.
But TCU, I mean, Sonny Dykes is talking about adding a cream puff game in November like the SEC because the Big 12 is so much of a grind now. And I don't see it with TCU this year. We'll get to this when we get to final standings, but I don't have them going bowling 2 straight years now at TCU. So I would take UCF in that matchup if it's me choosing.
I'm going UCF in that matchup.
Sure.
I think they're a really good team. I think we got a lot of luck avoiding them in in this year.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Go Frogs. Is that how you do it?
Really?
The old lady from Friends.
My bad.
The old lady.
It's thumb extended? Or I think it was like that, like this.
No, thumbs down, thumbs in, thumbs in.
I don't have any. Why would I know that? I don't.
Because your fingernails look like the eyes of the frog. Yeah.
Go Frogs. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.
All right. And Matt and I both have the same choice. And it's I tried to shy away from just picking K-State in every single week. But
it is a big game, though.
This was one matchup where I couldn't hold back. I had to choose Arizona at K-State. Technically doesn't count towards conference standings, which will make a difference in my conference standings. Spoiler alert, but I've got K-State winning that matchup. I think it's going to be a rowdy environment on a Friday night in Manhattan. Arizona, I think they're going to be good this year, but I just don't know how well that team is going to gel out of the gate with a new head coach and a guy that I was listening to the game on KMAN today, I think, and they were talking about defensive efficiency in the red zone last year, and KU they were like 99% ineffective against scoring in the red zone. And the only team behind them was San Jose State. And who was coaching San Jose State? Brent Brennan.
Wow. The connections.
He had 100% inefficiency in the red zone against offenses. So every time someone went to the red zone, they either got a field goal or a touchdown.
That's crazy. What? That's nuts.
And
they never got a turnover, a stop, or anything.
You're going up against a K-State offense that's been touted as being a pretty lucrative offense. Granted, you're inheriting a stout Arizona defense from Jed Fish that didn't have a ton of departures that we know. I mean, I haven't dug into Arizona's defense all that much as far as like returning production, but I
think they got some high-end talent. I think the depth is going to be a real question. And coming off of a game, I think they got 2 pretty good cupcakes in their first 2 weeks, but a short week traveling to a place that I don't remember last time Arizona's been in Manhattan. So, a weird travel schedule for a Pac-12 team on their first game going against, not technically a Big 12 matchup, but Big 12 competition, your first time on the road, shorthanded with, everybody's been talking about McMillan's health. So man, it's going to be tough for them. but the game is going to be rowdy. And if they're going to be explosive. It's just how can they handle K-State's relentless pressure? And I think they'll break.
There have been 7 matchups all time between K-State and Arizona. The last one was in 1978.
Hey.
K-State has 1 win, 1 tie, and 5 losses.
Okay.
And all of the games were played prior to 1978, and all of them were played in Tucson.
That's not right.
They have never been to Manhattan.
So it's a home, and away matchup that we scheduled with Arizona.
I mean, this is going to be a fun game. Arizona is going to be a scary team later in the season. I mean, I really think so. I think this is going to be an extremely competitive game, no matter how you slice it. They're going to come in, and you have an excellent quarterback that you have to game plan against. And they have, I mean, we've heard some things about McMillan, the wide receiver. He has been hurt or whatnot, so you don't necessarily know what that means. I mean, it's a month away, right?
Yeah, got time.
But I will say this. I think K-State's going to be just absolutely amped for this matchup. Number one, I mean, on a Friday night, you are the game that's going to be playing that night. Night games at the Bill are very, very tough places to play for teams. I mean, if you look at it historically, at least in recent history, we don't have that many night games, but when we do, it's so I feel really good about that matchup for us. I wouldn't say the same if this was like November. I mean, I really wouldn't. Because I do think Arizona, it's going to take a little time to get things together, especially with new coaching staff and bringing in some different guys. And, there are guys that left Arizona to go to Washington. So you're replacing some members of this team, but it's a top heavy team if you think about it, because you have a top quarterback in the country and you have a top wide receiver in the country. So ultimately, if you can put something together and it's the fourth quarter and it's a close game, you just never know. So, but I do have K-State winning that matchup.
I do as well.
I think K-State handles it. I think the pressure that we put on them physically, I think it's going to be tough for them. I think it's going to be tough shorthanded. Not shorthanded, short week. I think that's the ultimate difference right there.
Moving on to week 4. We've got some fun matchups this time around. A lot of good matchups between teams that weren't in the same conference last year or 2 years ago even. And a couple matchups where it's still non-conference, so we won't get into those unless you have one of those chosen. But Matt, who do you have in week 4 as your game of the week?
Utah at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I mean,
great matchup.
Yeah. Ultimately, not to say it's going to eliminate any of these teams because it's week 4, but it's a huge game for Utah.
Yeah. Would they have week 3? Oh no, they're still in non-con mode.
Utah State, still non-con mode. But for all the talk about Utah coming in from the Pac-12, this is, recent history. Utah's been an excellent football program. Going on the road to Stillwater is going to be an incredibly difficult game for them. And so if they can handle Oklahoma State on the road, then it's okay. This team is probably for real. You got to put them up there for the rest of the season. Oklahoma State wins this game. They're proven, hey, we're already there. We're going to be battling K-State. We're going to be battling Arizona. We're going to be battling these teams to make it to the Big 12 championship game. So I don't think this is not an eliminator of a game, but to make it to the Big 12 championship game, you cannot probably lose more than 2 games in Big 12 play. So this is a huge one right off the bat.
I agree. I completely agree that this is it's the real prove it game for both these teams. Both highly touted, just like you were saying. It's not an eliminator, like you said, but my God, it's going to be the real litmus test of who's going to carry the water for the Big 12. These two teams are probably one half of the Big 12 championship if whoever wins it. So, man, it's going to be a tight game, and welcome to the freaking Big 12. If my prediction is wrong and Oklahoma State's undefeated, holy crap, if this game's at night, those paddles are going to be popping on the side of the freaking stadium, and Utah is going to have, they're going to have their eyes wide open to what the Big 12 can really show.
Who did you both choose in this matchup?
I picked OK State.
I picked Utah.
I picked Oklahoma State.
I think that home environment is it's hard to win on the road, dude. It's
actually
hard.
No, I picked Utah. I was looking at yours, Jeff. I picked Utah.
I think it's hard to win on the road.
It's hard to win on the road, but South Dakota State's going to do it.
It's early. It's early. It's different.
I mean, week 4 is early. I mean, week 4 is.
You might have Ollie Gordon back by then.
You might.
You might have a Doak Walker back there.
So for my matchup, I have KU at West Virginia, because
That's
looking at KU's schedule, this is going to be their first real big test, because prior to that, they've got Lindenwood, Illinois, and
at Illinois.
Illinois.
At Illinois.
Whatever.
At Illinois.
Illinois as a football program, I do not worry.
I mean,
Bielema.
I know, but
it's a better KU team than years past. They're not going to go and lose to Illinois.
I know people keep saying this, but the offense, yes, Jalen Daniels is a great player, but Kotelnicki was a huge guy for that offense last season. He
was.
And
I'm not denying that.
I feel like it's going to take some time for them to get into a groove.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And I have KU going on the road and losing at Illinois. I do.
This is
now we're all the way back to week 2, guys.
I'm sorry. I just want to get in there. I'm agreeing with you, Matt. I think this team, the KU team, they're not overrated, but we saw what they did with Jason Bean. Do we think Jalen Daniels is going to exceed Jason Bean numbers? I think they're going to be about even production, and I think they're going to get less production because they lost their offensive coordinator. I just think it's
going to take some time.
Sneeze.
It just takes time.
It does. It does take time.
Sure.
And
my thought process here is, if Jalen Daniels is going to be healthy, he's going to be healthy for the first few games of the season. And that's going to go a long way for them. And Lawrence Arnold's going to pop off in Champaign. They're going to be popping champagne in Champaign.
Hey, this is the game that gave birth to the new KU game. Because the new KU football team. Because if you remember,
it did.
Jalen Daniels won in that triple overtime versus West Virginia in Morgan. I think it was in Morgantown. Where they had a interception return for the game winner or something like that. That was the birth of the new look KU football. So I think West Virginia is still holding a little bit of a grudge to that. I think West Virginia wins this game.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to week 4. I do have KU going on the road, and I have them losing to West Virginia, because this is going to be a pretty battle-tested West Virginia team that's playing Power 4 teams in Pitt, Penn State. They've got granted, the UAlbany Great Danes are not going to be a Power 4 test for West Virginia, but they've got 2 Power 4 matchups in their first 3 weeks. Going into this matchup, I think they're going to face a KU team that might be high and mighty, coming off of a 3-0 or 2-1, even if you two are both right. But I think this is going to be a great test for both teams. If West Virginia comes out of this, I kind of agree with Nightmares Jay here. Shout out to Your Marks Army, popping in the chat here and saying Morgantown is brutal as is, and if West Virginia beats Penn State week 1, the Mountaineer fans are going to be rabid smelling Arlington. So I don't disagree with that. Chef, who you got? Week 4, game of the week.
Oh man, I had Utah, Oklahoma State. I
Okay.
think I already did my little diatribe on that.
Okay, cool. We can go ahead and move on then to week 5. Matt, start us off.
I think I have us, right? Isn't that what I put?
You sure do.
Yeah. Oklahoma State at K-State. For us, I mean, from a Big 12 schedule perspective, this is a huge game. I mean, almost another, one of those games that kind of puts you in a perspective of, number one, you need to win your home games. But number two, winning a home game against a team that's perceived to be one of the favorites in the conference is absolutely, it's just such an important game at home. Interestingly enough, for all of the Big 12 teams that week, I have all of the home teams winning. So I don't know why, but that's how it's
Even Houston.
Even Houston, yes.
Oh no.
You'll hear about it later. You'll hear about it later. But I mean, this is another game that I hope is like a night game. I hope we get a night game for this one.
I guarantee it'll be a 3:30 ABC. That's
oddly specific.
It's going to be exactly like we had when we beat them 40. What was it, 48-0? Or
that was
40?
Fox. 3:30 on Fox.
Oh, excuse me, 3:30 Fox. That's what this game will be.
Interesting.
I thought it was ABC.
No, Brock Heward. What's his name? Did it?
Gus. Oh, Gus.
No.
Chef, what's your game of the week for this week?
I'm going K-State, Oklahoma State as well. It's
okay.
It's God, man. We have to have it, and it's just like the Oklahoma State Utah game where in back-to-back weeks you're getting 3 of the 3 top dogs all basic. Well, Oklahoma State's get 2 of them, so they're splitting. And man, going on the road is tough. K-State's going to be a really tough team coming off of a BYU win. They're going to be smelling it. We're a quarter of the way through the season. Man, oh man, you're going to be – this is where the rubber meets the road. So I feel strong about K-State. I feel strong about Oklahoma State. But I think going on the road for Oklahoma State is where it's going to hit them.
I have all the home teams winning this week except for Houston. So similar but different. I do not have Iowa State dropping a game at TDECU Stadium. But I have chosen what could potentially become a new rivalry in the Big 12, I guess, between the Battle of Black and Gold, similar to the Purple Rain or whatever you want to call TCU K-State. But I've got CU at UCF. I just think that's going to be a fun matchup. CU's never had to play in an environment like the Bounce House. Are you kidding me?
Dion going back to Florida is a fun storyline too.
Yeah.
I've got Colorado winning that game.
Really?
Yes. I think it's going to be a fun game. I just think looking at that game, it just screams that's the one game that Colorado shouldn't win. But they definitely pull it out, and diamonds are going to be shown on the wrist, and Travis Hunter's going to go nuts. I got a feeling. I got a feeling about that one. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yuck.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Week 6. Let's do week 6. We'll scoot along.
Where are week 6 at? Let me see what we
6.
got here.
I'll just kick it off. I've got Tech at Arizona. Reason being, I think Tech is going to be a top half team in the Big 12 this year. Potentially top quarter. Actually, I've got them in the top quarter of the Big 12 this year because I think they're going to have a nice year with McGuire and some of that big recruiting class he had a couple years ago starting to finally culminate a bit. And this is an old border conference rivalry that's being revived as a result of conference realignment. So
West
Tech's
Texas
playing at Arizona. They're playing in Tucson for the first time, not in a while because they had a home and home a couple of years back. little Pac-12 after dark back in like 2021, I want to say, maybe a little bit before that. But I'm just looking forward to that game. Those are going to be two teams that I think may be coming into their own at that point in the season. At that point, you're close to the halfway point of the football season. So I like that matchup. I think it's going to be a fun one.
I got UCF Florida non-con
That's a
game
good
in the
one.
middle of the season. This is the real reason why I picked Colorado to upset UCF. They're looking ahead of this Florida game. There's a lot of shit that they're going to be talking. A lot of interest involved in this game. Going on the road to the Swamp. I think UCF. I mean, they lost the game, but I think they lose again to Florida. This is Florida's start to their, an absolutely ridiculous schedule that Florida has to play. I don't envy them at all. They go like probably
potentially the hardest schedule for the second half of the season.
I think it's definitely the hardest. Yeah. It's insane. They got like 5 straight 15 ranked top 10 matchups. It's nuts. So UCF, this would be a prime opportunity, but I think they're going to have just been disappointed by losing to Colorado, and I got them losing to Florida as well.
Wow.
Sorry, UCF.
I don't have
not
UCF,
a conference game though. So
I don't have UCF losing to Colorado. I also picked UCF at Florida. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be a really fun matchup. Especially it's a K-State bye week. It's going to be just melting into the couch and watching as much football as possible, and that's going to be one that I'll be excited to switch to. I mean, KJ. Did KJ ever play Florida?
I would imagine.
Probably, right?
I would imagine.
I don't know. So. With the way the scheduling worked in the SEC,
that's the thing. Has Arkansas ever played Florida?
Look it up.
I think Vandy only played A&M like once over a 14-year period of time or something like that.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I have Florida winning the game, but I think it's going to be an extremely competitive. It'll be a very fun matchup.
I agree with you.
I don't believe. Oh, well, 2020. Yeah, 2023. KJ got to play in Gainesville.
Stat line.
Already done it.
Arkansas won that game 39-36.
Arkansas won the game. See?
Give me the stat line. Stat line. What was the stat line? Can you look that up?
Matt, are you on it? And in the meantime, I'm going to read Nightmares J again in the chat.
Arkansas,
night games in the Swamp are never easy, but we're not 1996 UCF and they're not 2005 Florida. KJ won in the Swamp last year, so
KJ 20th 31, 225, 2 touchdowns and an interception, and
he ran the ball.
He's 17 carries, 92 yards and a touchdown.
Oh my God! It's over for the boys. It's over for Florida. I gotta take it. I gotta take that back. Can I adjust?
So, KJ is winning. So 350 total yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, KJ's winning that game. I'm sorry, Florida. I gotta take it back.
Is Graham Mertz still the quarterback at Florida?
Who?
Yeah, Graham Mertz. But I think maybe by that time they might switch to the young boy. What's his name? Someone with an L. I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
Lagway.
Okay. DJ
Lagway.
Tough.
Kicking off week 7. Chef, you go ahead because I know Matt and I have the same pick.
And I might have the same as well. I don't look at outlines or anything like that. I got Iowa State, West Virginia. I don't know if that's the one you guys picked, but I think that's not. I think this is where West Virginia's season could go from where people expect them and be in the bottom half to being that similar to what they did last year, where they went 9-3 or 9-4, whatever, and have a really good season. I think this is their pendulum game. West Virginia not looking ahead to the K-State matchup. I think they get Iowa State at home, and I think they smoke Iowa State. Let's go.
I have West Virginia winning that matchup too. It is not my game of the week though. So Matt, get your takes in on that West Virginia Iowa State game.
West Virginia.
Perfect.
Tired of talking about it.
That's all it. Yeah.
So spoiler alert, Matt and I both picked K-State at Colorado.
Really?
Looks like this. I think it's the second K-State game that I've picked, and I think I think I only have 3 total on this list. So
Hold on. Did I pick Colorado to beat us? What the hell am I doing?
if you did, then you're smoking whatever they sell out here in Colorado.
This might not
I've
be.
got K-State. I've got K-State winning that matchup. It's going to be,
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. What would be really cool, and if anybody in the K-State athletics department is listening to this, I think someone should get someone from that 2010 football team that lost to Colorado and talk about how much it hurt to lose that game and why we should beat the crap out of them, and give some sort of like a Dan Lanning-ish type of speech about they're playing football for clicks. We keep out all the outside noise. We keep everything here in Veneer, and we're just going to go on a business trip to Boulder, Colorado, take care of business, and beat the crap out of these clowns.
Maybe I would like that. That would be a good. They do really good cinematic stuff over that.
Yeah, bring in like a Carson Kaufman or something to talk about that game. I don't know.
Oh my
Maybe,
god! Please don't.
Maybe bring in Blake Slaughter.
Blake
That would be great.
Wow.
He lived on my floor in the dorms my freshman year.
Okay. So I did pick this game, and I think I plainly picked it from the nostalgia perspective.
Yes.
By this point, before this game, I have Colorado at 1-4. Like, and
Tough.
so I like there's going to be excitement from the Colorado side because they're playing K-State, kind of a rivalry game. I just think from the K-State perspective, there's going to be a lot more excitement for this game. And I think, road games, again, always tough in the Big 12. My luck, this game is going to be like an 8 or 9 o'clock, like late kick.
It's going to be a late kick.
Which would be so annoying. So? Yeah, I do. Just because I'm going and I have a 10 a.m. flight the next morning, and that's how things work in my life. So I have K-State winning this game on the road. Out of all the games this week, there's nothing that just screamed at me like at all.
I recently listened to a Colorado podcast on, they basically did the schedule breakdown similar to how we're doing. And to their credit, the only team that they put any kind of respect on was the K-State game. Everything else, they poo-pooed on all the Big 12. So, maybe they're not looking past us. At least the fans aren't.
This really is a rough week, though, as far as matchups. You've got Cincinnati, UCF. UCF's going to steamroll Cincinnati. Arizona, BYU. I think it's at BYU. So depending on the time of that game could be important for BYU to make it competitive. But Arizona is going to be coming into true form, I think, at that point. And then Utah, Arizona State. That's going to be just a disaster for Arizona State with Utah, a team they're familiar with coming in. I just don't think that's going to be even close. So
they played them close last year, though.
That's fair. But without
maybe I'm missing.
Cam Rising.
Maybe that game was not close. I can't remember. They either played Arizona really tight or they played Utah really tight. Can't remember which one, but
all I know is there was no Cam Rising in that game if it was close, but I don't have I'm not going to look that up right now. Week 8. Who do we got? Who wants to kick it off? Anyone go?
I'm going Matt. Arizona. Oh,
okay. Sure.
You want me to go first?
I was going UCF at Iowa State.
Yep. Yuck. Indeed.
I mean, I'm generally high on UCF. Generally high. I think they're going to finish top 5 in the conference. Mm-hmm. But going on the road in Ames is always a tough task. So for me, that was my game of the week because I also didn't want to pick K-State.
I'm going the Ugly Bowl. I'm going Arizona State at Cincinnati. I think that is going to be comedy. It's going to be pure entertainment just because neither team probably wants to win. So
It's going to be like watching a Big Ten game.
yeah, I think it's going to
But
be
with Big 12, Pac-12 scoring.
yeah, it's going to be maybe. I don't
Arizona
know.
State put up some numbers last year in some games where it's like, why do they have 40 points right now?
So I think they're probably just gonna go to the middle of the field at the 50-yard line and rock, paper, scissors their way down to see who wants to score and win the game. So that's what I got. I think that's gonna be the most entertaining in a cringe bad way.
I very specific prediction for that one. Satterfield is since he's going to win that game only because of home field advantage, but I think Satterfield's going to have the ball within the 50, but not in the red zone and not score 4 different times.
Jesus.
Because
Wow,
every
that is a
Cincinnati
weird
game I
specific.
watched last year, they would make their way across the 50, but never score. And it was just the saddest thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life from any
That is
kind
a
of
weirdly
offense.
specific take.
Very specific take. I'm going with Oklahoma State at BYU this week because BYU can get a little scary at night. You never know what's going to happen. And I have just for this week, I have every home team winning except for West Virginia. I have K-State beating West Virginia on the road, which is not
I've
my
got
pick.
I've got TCU beating Utah.
I've got BYU winning that game against Oklahoma State because if you remember last year's matchup, Oklahoma State and BYU in Stillwater, that was way too close for comfort against
BYU
the
did that to a lot of
same
teams last year.
BYU team, basically. And if it's going to be at home, it's on a Friday. We already know it's on a Friday, so it's a Friday night game in Provo. That makes me scared if I'm Oklahoma State. So I'm going with the Cougs.
Pokes.
I'm going Pokes as well.
I have the Cats losing this week for what it's worth. So
really?
I do.
I do too.
Yeah. Well, I said I started it, so
yeah. I didn't copy you though, so
no. Trust me. I don't copy anything you do. This game is kind of the one that scares me on the schedule that for where it's at in the season, like kind of mid-season, 2 away games in a row. I just think a Colorado road trip coming back, then going to West Virginia, it's gonna be a really hard game in Morgantown for us.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not as high on West Virginia as a lot of people this season. But I just think that's going to be a very tough environment to play in at that point, and have us dropping it. So,
yeah, I'll echo on what you're saying because I think it is a really good matchup and you picked a good one. But I think we do lose this game, and it's that sandwich spot, man, where we just got off of the Colorado game, high profile, depending on what Colorado's doing. And we're looking ahead to KU, the biggest matchup of the year, for us in terms of rivalry. I think it's a bad spot. I think it is a very, very bad spot to be in. Going on the road 2 weeks in a row, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, you stole the words from my mouth. I thought it was going to be kind of a letdown, look ahead sandwich a little bit there.
Yeah.
But I do think we pull it out because I think Kleiman's finally exercised his demons with West Virginia a little bit after that game a couple years ago. So, I'm just high on the Cats in general. I'm a homer. I'm going for the Cats. Week 9, we're getting to the home stretch here as we reach close to the hour mark. For the 152 people watching this live, we appreciate you. Go check out Annie Mae's Parlor. Go check out Pat's Beef Jerky. Check out the banner if you're watching this on video, and go to the description if you are listening on audio to see where you can find their stuff, order their stuff, visit the bar, all that good stuff. Week 9, Chef, who you got?
It's got to be the Sunflower Showdown, man.
Okay, we've all got the same one.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's the game we all look forward to. It's the biggest. I think it's the biggest rivalry. Some people would argue, maybe. But man, you got to have this one. Going for 16 straight. They put a little bit of a scare into us last year, and I think we're here to exercise those demons and put them back in their place. Maybe we get a primetime matchup with two quarterbacks that are rocking and rolling, but we might have just one on one side and a backup on the other. But who knows? Knock on wood for whoever you think I'm talking about.
This is one where, I mean, if KU is on a roll and whatnot, and so are we, this could be one of those games that you circle, a college game day situation. You just never know. But I mean, ultimately, out of all the games this week, this is huge for the Big 12. This is huge for K-State. I don't think any of the other games kind of sniff the test of being like the game of the week other than this one. And it's going to be huge for both sides. K-State protecting home field advantage, KU trying to beat, trying to finally win for the first time in 16 years. So we'll see. I mean, this is hard because ultimately I would love to have a high profile matchup for this game. And that would mean KU is, winning all their games and K-State's winning all their games. But would I like to see KU not win all their games?
That's just pure hater in me, man. I
know.
I don't think about what KU does outside of the game that we play. And that's how I'd look at it. I really don't root for them to win or lose. I don't care. When they play us though, I want them to get smashed into the dirt. That's how I look at it.
That's right.
Yep. I got one question on this. I know we're running a little bit longer than we wanted to, but
that's okay.
Where does the Sunflower Showdown rank in terms of the rivalry matchup of amongst all the other teams in the conference?
For me, I think
it's like
one.
Yeah. I mean, no bias involved. I mean, it's hard to do without bias.
So you're saying stacking it up with like the Territorial Cup for Arizona and Arizona State, the Holy War.
Like the Holy War and all that.
Got it. I would say it's top 3.
That's why I had it top 3 as well. I mean, I think the Holy War, that Baylor and TCU.
No, that's
the Revivalry. Also,
Revivalry I like that one too.
Utah, BYU. I see. I would put
Utah, BYU,
in Arizona State.
I think Cincinnati, West Virginia is a nice rivalry that not a lot of people give credit.
But their own fans would tell you they don't even put that really like in the top.
Yeah.
I just wonder where you guys put it, because I think it's obviously one of the oldest ones. We have like some of the longest obviously, but I think it's got to be top 3 at least. I would put it 1 or 2 or 3. It just depends on what you're looking at, how teams are ranked that year. But I think it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I would say top 4, because I would put TCU Baylor up there.
I agree.
TCU Baylor's up there, and then I mean, from a competitive standpoint, Iowa State K-State's been way more competitive in the last 10, 15 years than K-State KU has been. Yeah, so granted, that's changed the last 4 years, I would say 5 years, with KU coming on a little bit the last 2 or 3 years, and then them getting a bit of a scare with the Alex Delton team, 2018. So, or was that 2017 when we went to the Cactus Bowl that year, or the Cactus Bowl? I don't know. They all kind of blur together for me sometimes.
That was Skylar's freshman year, so that had to be.
Yeah, but I would say Farmageddon's more fun than K-State KU for the most part, but yeah, I don't know. I think Holy War, I love the Revivalry take. I think that's a great take. And I'm also partial to the Butt Bowl. I love the Butt Bowl just because
Butt Bowl is fun too.
It's stupid. It's old Southwest Conference.
I think Texas Tech has an argument with isn't it their TCU rivalry where they're like fighting over cactus and cactus emojis?
Yeah. And then I like the Territorial Cup as well, even though Arizona hasn't been as good the last 3, 4, 5 years since Herm Edwards really took over there. Arizona State's historically been a pretty damn good program, and Arizona's had a lot of good years mixed in there as well. So I would like to see that one come back and be another marquee type of rivalry for the Big 12, just to be able to promote that game more. I think would be beneficial for the conference. But that's let's go on to week 10. Week 10, who you got? Matt, kick it off.
Arizona at UCF.
Okay.
I like it.
It's gonna be a fun one. Is that the space game this year, or no? Is that Utah?
No,
That's Utah.
That's the last game of the year, huh? Is it space game?
Space game is Utah, I'm pretty sure.
Damn. Let
I mean,
Rockets
no
fly,
matter what,
baby.
Arizona. I mean,
No, it's Arizona. You're right. It's Arizona.
Woo!
It's Arizona.
No, see, I know things about UCF.
Ball.
Space game against Arizona is already sold out as of June 21st.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dolly.
Space game picking Arizona, or picking UCF. Space game picking UCF. No question.
Man, that changes my answer.
No question.
It doesn't change mine. I think what made me even bring up the question earlier about the rivalry is that we have the rivalry next week in week 10. So TCU, Baylor, I think it's going to get Baylor's bad. Let's call it what it is. But at home versus a rival, everything you throw everything out the window. TCU's gotten, in my book, they've gotten some big wins this year, but man, when they play Baylor, it could get weird out in Waco. Give me the Bears. I think they pull that one off, and they get bragging rights. I don't know if it saves Dave Aranda, but you love getting those rivalry wins.
I'm going with Tech and Iowa State in this one. I think Tech is going to be better this year than they were last year, maybe around the same, but no, a little better. I've got them going 9-3 by the end of the season, 6-3 in the conference. We'll get to that when we get to our standings, but I still have Iowa State winning this game because I think they play well in Ames generally for the most part, but Tech's going to be salty. I just think that's going to be a good close matchup against two fairly evenly matched teams when we look at the final standings in the Big 12 at the end of the season. These are two teams that are going to be kind of separated by two spots in my rankings, at least by the end of the season. So I just think that usually makes for good matchups. So I like Tech and Iowa State, and I'm going to take these Cyclones in that matchup. I do like that space game. That's a good pick, though. I do have Arizona winning that one. I don't know.
UCF.
I don't know.
Space game, UCF.
All streaks have to end. I know they've always won that space game, but all streaks have to end at some point. Week 11. I'll go ahead and kick this one off. I have the Holy War. We were just talking about it. And I'm taking BYU in this matchup. I think they're going to get this. I think they're going to get one over on Utah. They're now conference rivals. BYU's been talking a lot of shit since Utah joined the conference. They've been I like it. I like BYU.
Why?
Yeah.
BYU.
Like BYU.
No way.
Yeah. And this is the one game I have Utah losing all season.
I cannot believe that is the one game, man. Utah is winning that by like 3 touchdowns. I'm going Iowa State at Kansas. That's kind of a more it's turning into a budding rivalry on their side as well. Should be a good matchup. KU, I have KU winning that, but should be fun. Here's the thing: the Holy War out of this is like a week where it's almost like the week where we play KU. It's like all these other games, like the Holy War. BYU could lose every game up to this game, and it's still going to be one of those matchups that you're going to turn the TV on to watch because of the historical value of it.
Even if Utah wins by 3 touchdowns.
Even if Utah, I mean, I'll turn it off at half if they're up by 3 touchdowns, but at least I saw the beginning. So yeah.
Chef, you're on mute. Great podcasting. Now you're off
Jesus,
video.
cutting the video now.
Are there storms happening in Ohio right now?
No, thank goodness, and hopefully the internet's been going good because I've had trouble with it the past week. I'm going Colorado, Texas Tech. In that same podcast that I listened to, the Colorado boys talk about their schedule. Man, oh man, did they poo on Lubbock. And they said there's nobody that even lives in Lubbock, and they've got like 3 times the population as Boulder. So
Yeah.
it was so
True.
funny to hear them poo on West Texas, and they have to travel to Lubbock. And when those tortillas start flying, and what is this, like the end of October, it's gonna get crazy out there. I don't think they're prepared for that. It will be fun to see, what this does for Tech's season. And you said you got them 9-3, and I'll discuss where I got them later. And I kind of wooed when you said 9-3, but I'm not too far behind you. So I got Tech winning that game versus Colorado in Lubbock.
All right. I mean, here's the deal. If they're talking shit on West Texas, Eastern Colorado's not any different. So they can I've been to both Eastern Colorado and West Texas, and they are both literally the exact same facsimiles of each other. Week 12. Chef, who you got? I'll go with you first.
Week 12. Who do I have?
This week sucks, by the way. This is a horrible slate.
Yeah, it's a really, really bad slate of games. So I'll go. Do I have any upsets? I don't have any upsets. But I will go Houston at Arizona. I think Arizona, if they figure it out, I think they're going to be trying to make a push going into the latter half of this season where it's getting late. Everybody's a little congested. Teams are starting to get tight. You have to beat the teams that are bad. And, the bad teams have nothing to lose. People are probably firing their coaches at this point. Houston won't be firing Willie Fritz, I'll tell you that. So they're going to be fighting to the very end. Going into Tucson, can Arizona prove that they're, not a flash in the pan? Because you got to remember, last year they won 7 games in a row to get to 9-3. They weren't too hot at the beginning of the year. And, with a new coach, maybe they're cooking, maybe they're not. But I got Arizona winning this game, but I think it'll be closer than what, like Lee Corset would say, what the experts think.
Matt, who you got?
Strange.
Donovan Smith. He's
Donovan
a dog.
Smith, I know. KU at BYU. I mean, this is such a terrible week.
It's so bad.
And so out of all the away teams, I mean, Utah at Colorado could be fun. I just pick KU at BYU because I don't even know why. I don't know. I don't even have a good reason. I don't. Here's why. They're the only away team that I have winning that week.
Okay.
Utah's the only team I have winning that week away as well.
You guys got BYU beating.
No. I do have an upset. I do think Colorado loses or Colorado beats Utah.
Wow. Okay.
I did. Yes, I did pick that. Now that I just saw that, I was like, wait a second.
Hold on. You guys got BYU beating KU?
No, I have KU beating BYU.
Okay, so that was why you said they're the only one. Oh, damn, you got Colorado beating Utah.
KU is the only away team that week I think is going to win.
Wow, Colorado pulling the uppie.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got that Rumble in the Rockies game. That is a matchup that goes all the way back to 1903, folks. And that matchup all time is 35, 32, and 3, with Utah having a slight edge in that one.
Oh my God, so Rumble in the Rockies? Is that
It's
real?
been a relatively close matchup. I mean, they were in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference prior to either of them joining any other conferences. The Big 8 for Colorado and Utah going wherever they went, the WAC or Mountain West or whatever they were in. But yeah, I've got Utah winning that game against Colorado. So that's an interesting upset. I do like the upset. I don't dislike it. I think that game could be a toss-up for all we know.
They played them tight last year.
And that's why I picked that as my game of the week, because I think it's a fun matchup and it's going to be intriguing. It'll have my eyeballs on it. Week 13 coming down. We got 2 more weeks, boys. Matt,
and that Arizona Houston game is on a Friday, by the way. So,
yep,
bang.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right, we're week 13 now.
Texas Tech at Oklahoma State. I
Tech,
did
Texas Tech.
pick Texas Tech at
Tech,
Oklahoma State. Two teams that I think are going to be in the top half of the conference. Should
The
be
Red
I
Dirt
mean,
rivalry.
Yeah. Ooh, is that actually what it's called? The Red Dirt
That's
rivalry?
what their fans call it.
I like it.
Not
the
bad.
Red Dirt rivalry.
Heard better, but yeah, I like that game this week. I think Oklahoma State will win at home. But there's also a couple other fun matchups that week that I'm sure
I got UCF at West Virginia. I think that Far East battle is what I'm going to name it. The Far East battle. I don't know what else. I don't know what else.
They also play the game in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chinese, isn't it Chinese Taipei?
the Taipei Classic.
The Taipei Classic. Yeah. I don't know if the Chinese want you saying Taiwan on the internet right now, but anyway,
the Chinese don't finance us, so we're good.
If the Chinese are looking up Cocaine Willie, they're not looking it up for us. Probably. It's got to be something else.
All right,
they misspelled something.
Anyway, the Far East, what throwdown? I don't know. Throwdown.
I got West Virginia winning that one. It's going to be late in the season. The UCF boys got to go up to Morgantown. Probably snow on the ground. You never know. Garrett Green, CJ Donaldson, they'll be running that rock. Man, UCF. I don't know. What's the coldest place they played last year late in the season? That'd be fun. That'd be fun to look up.
Where's the coldest place they played last season?
Yeah.
UCF?
Yeah. Late in the season, who were they playing? Did they go anywhere cold?
Let's see. Houston, Texas Tech, Stillwater, Cincinnati.
No.
Well, maybe that Cincinnati one was cold.
November 4th.
Yeah, nope, still warm there. I don't think late in the season. This is probably November 18th.
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cold as hell in Morgantown.
I like this week a lot. There were a couple of thoughts that I had, and I guess if I had to pick an honorable mention, it'd probably be Colorado at KU, just because it's an Arrowhead, another old Big Eight rivalry game, and CU fans don't like KU at all.
Are they seriously playing this in Arrowhead?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's gonna be crazy. Okay, yeah. Damn,
half of KU's games are being played in Arrowhead. If you didn't already get that memo, half of them
I thought they were playing in that soccer stand.
Half of them are.
I think the first 3 are in the soccer stadium, and then the last.
Iowa State's playing them on the road in Arrowhead.
That's a home game for Iowa State. So
that's going to be interesting to watch.
But damn, Colorado in Arrowhead, that is going to be fun, dude. They're going to highlight the hell out of that game.
They're gonna hype that up big time. But my actual pick for game of the week this week is Iowa State on the road at Utah, because this is Chef. I think you said it best. A lot of these teams are going to be really close in the standings at this point in the season. Iowa State's probably. I mean, think about how bad of a spot that they're in, where they're going to have Utah and K-State back-to-back weeks. Yep. So they're going to be looking ahead to both of those games. Probably looking more so ahead to the K-State game than they are, finishing off senior night. I think Utah's going to get that game off, but I think it could be a close matchup too. We don't know. This is all just predictions and stuff at this point, but I just think it's going to be a fun game to watch. But CUKU is kind of an honorable mention, just because that'll be a fun matchup too.
That in Arrowhead changed a lot for me. I like that a lot. I think that one's going to be fun. I knew that they were playing in Arrowhead. I didn't realize they were playing 3 games there, and Iowa State there. That might change. Damn. Okay, That's
And
awesome.
the last week before we get into kind of our final standings and predictions for Arlington, week 14. I'll just kick it off. I've got the Territorial Cup. It's not the best game on the agenda for that week, but it's a rivalry that I think should be spotlighted. I think Arizona State's going to be horrible this season, but they play Arizona relatively close most of the time because it's a rivalry game. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I don't think it's going to be a win for Arizona State. Arizona's hosting it in Tucson, and Arizona State loves to talk shit on Tucson, but this week is full of good matchups. I do want to critique the Big 12 here, though. This is the week where they should have the revivalry. That should be Baylor TCU. This should also be the
Holy
week that maybe some Sunflower Showdown or Farmageddon. We get Farmageddon this time, but if they're going to go the route of the protective rivalry for KU K State, they should probably play that in Thanksgiving and make it a thing. So I don't know. I've got a little bit of a beef with the way that they lay this all out, and I don't know. BYU Utah should maybe be this week as well. Have the Holy War be this week, but all of that is to say, I think Arizona is just going to be. It'll be one to watch, and it's not going to mean a whole lot, but it could mean something if Arizona State can get get their hands on Arizona late in the season. If the Arizona's looking at 10, 11 wins there, that could mean a lot for conference standings in the final week of the season.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to get upset in that last week of the regular season when you're vying for a championship and you let somebody snake bite you in at the end to get you eliminated. I say that to say Farmageddon's this week. That's my game of the week. Iowa State at home, Ames, cold as shit. Hopefully not another snowball, but it's the potential is there to have back-to-back Farmageddons where it's frigid with snow on the ground, and I don't like it, and that's why I've got Iowa State winning this game.
I also have Iowa State winning this game.
Whoa, I do not. I have K-State winning this game on the road. I guess my reasoning here, just looking at kind of holistically K-State's, like how I predict K-State's schedule, there is so much at stake for this game. Yeah. And I think K-State is going to be, they are going to be in a position where they understand the ramifications and know it's going to be a tough game. But they also know that they're going to lay everything out there. I mean, on the table. And I mean, at Iowa State, we won there 2 years ago. I mean, it was a terrible game. You know what? Terrible game, but it was a win. And a good number of these players were on the team last year, knowing last game of the season, you lose to them, that want to go on the road and win this game. This game very much is the one that will basically decide if you're playing for a Big 12 championship or not. So I think they go on the road and win it. It's going to be tough, but I do feel pretty confident. And, with what I know against what they have and how I feel our season's going to go, I think we're going to win it.
And while Chef is checking his armpits, Chef, you've also got this one picked. Any other thoughts on Farmageddon 2024?
And you brought up the comments, the college football playoff expanding to 12. We're going to discuss our standings here in a second, but how do the teams look? Do they start peaking? Because how many teams are we going to get out of the Big 12 going to the college football playoff that expanded to 12? If you've got 2 losses already, or you got 1 loss, you're kind of peaking, trying to see if I make the Big 12 championship game, do I have to win it? Do I have some wiggle room when I get to the Big 12 championship game? Am I vying to even get to the Big 12 championship game? It's a lot of stuff that's going to go into it. That's an added element that we haven't seen yet this season, in previous seasons. So it's going to be the tightness, the pucker factor going into these late games is going to be crazy. And it being a rivalry game versus Iowa State in Ames, I want to pick K-State. I want it with all my heart. But man, oh man, that is going to be a dreaded game to have to play late in the season. So I got Iowa State, but I still think with tiebreakers, K-State will be where they want to be with a chance.
And moving to our last segment here. So final record predictions for each team, and who do you have in Arlington? I guess let's start with who do you have in Arlington, and then we can go, 1 through 16 for everybody. But Chef, just go ahead and segue into who you got, because you just
as much shit as I talked about South Dakota State upsetting them in week 1 and all that noise, I still got Oklahoma State going 8-1 in conference. Being the number one classic Gundy. You just didn't. I picked them maybe one time for game of the week, in my opinion. So, man, they just flew under the radar, win all their home games, win all that stuff. And I got them going against K-State with tiebreakers, with Utah also being 10-2. 10-2 with 7-2 in the conference. I've got 3 teams 7-2 in the conference. Arizona being one of them. And we didn't play neither one of them technically in conference play. So the tiebreakers might be different, because I don't even know if they've made that distinction on what the tiebreakers will be. But if it's a tie record wise, I'm going to put K-State in the Big 12 championship game.
And Oklahoma State I think you make a great point, but I also want to hammer in Oklahoma State's got a relatively favorable away schedule, where they're only playing on the road at Tulsa, BYU, Baylor, TCU, Colorado, and K-State in conference. Well, and Tulsa's not conference play, but that's pretty favorable if you're looking at away teams. Like, you want to get Baylor on the road, BYU, some of those teams that are not necessarily projected to be that great this season.
Right.
So,
and I think their only one loss is to K-State. So if how my schedule lays out, if K-State were to, win that Iowa State game on the road, they would be the number 1 seed, but I just don't see it happening. So
you've got K-State wearing white in
Yep.
Arlington. Who's winning?
It's 2022 all over again, baby. Let's go.
Goal line stand in overtime.
Let's raise the banner. 2 out of the last 3 years. Who would have thought that? I mean, honestly, I think that would submit Kleiman in a echelon that we just, I didn't expect it. I honestly wouldn't have expected it. And if he's raising 2 out of the 3 years, give him a statue. Fuck it.
There we go. Matt, who you have in Arlington?
I had K-State at 8-1 in the conference, and then 3 teams at 7-2. Utah, Oklahoma State, and Arizona. Utah winning the tiebreaker. And honestly, I say this truthfully, I would love to play Utah in the Big 12 championship game.
Why is that?
Because I would say Utah is right now always projected to be one of the top teams in the conference. And number one, I would not want to play a team we've already played.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to play Arizona late in the year. I probably wouldn't want to play Oklahoma State later in the year. I think this would be a really fun matchup from a old Big 12 versus new Big 12 perspective too, of this mindset of we have these new teams that are coming in here and they think they're going to win the Big 12 championship in their first season. And with K-State at 8-1, Utah at 7-2 in the conference, K-State's 11-1, like, you win this, you're in the college football playoff. You lose this game, it's going to be a very interesting conversation as to what happens there. But I do think K-State's going to win. I'm really high on this team. There's just a lot of pieces that I feel like are in a position to be in position. Makes 2025 though really exciting, but for 2024, I just think this team, the sky's the limit. I think Avery's the real deal. And it's going to be fun.
Before you go, Bob, before you go, I mean, I love that, and I had some daydreams just now, just thinking of you laying it all out, telling the story. If we're 11-1, and then we win the Big 12 championship, we're 12-1. I can't imagine that anybody from the SEC is going to go undefeated. It's so hard, dude. They all play each other basically. All the top teams do. And then maybe somebody from the Big Ten can go undefeated, but they all play each other too. Oregon plays everybody. Ohio State plays everybody. Penn State plays 2 of the 3. That's vying for like a 2 seed. And that's nuts to me because when I think of the Big 12, I think of them going to be the 4 seed automatically. Maybe somebody from the ACC is the 1 seed or the 4 seed, 3. It just the seeding's going to matter in Matt's scenario where you're going to be freaking 12-1 as a Big 12 champion. Where national championship's not off the table, bud. We got to buy.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very hard for a Big 12 or an ACC school to be something other than like a 3 or 4 seed. I mean, and here's my thinking on it. The number of SEC and Big 10 champions are going to probably have beaten 2 or 3 top 10 teams during the season. If they go 12-1, it's highly I just you look at it from a resume perspective, and that's going to be how it's looked, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So I don't see, unless the SEC champion, because you could have an SEC team that's 12-0, and they play a 10-2 team, and the 10-2 team wins.
This is the thing. They're getting away from the divisions as well. So they're playing the second best team in those conferences.
Yeah.
And if you're putting the second Texas team, or you're putting a Georgia team or an Alabama as the 2 seed in the conference championship game, there is no reason why they can't upset the number one team in that conference.
Sure.
You could have a 2-loss champion out of the Big Ten or out of the Big Ten or the SEC. Which, if you're 12-1 at the Big 12, are you going to put a 2-loss team above you? I don't know. This is really hypothetical stuff, and it's very interesting.
And I'm looking forward to getting into more of that as the season goes on, because we're gonna be hammering in on some of that playoff stuff and projections and all that. But I've got K-State, Utah. I've got both teams at 11-1 overall and 8-1 in the conference each. Matt and I have the same loss, being Iowa State, and I think K-State bounces back and beets. Wait, I thought you had Iowa State.
He's got West Virginia.
Got West Virginia with me. You've got West Virginia. You've got West Virginia. I've got K-State winning that matchup against Utah, because I think for all the same reasons. Plus, I think if you're coming off of a loss to Iowa State in the last game of the season, Kleinman's going to have those boys ready for that following week in a Big 12 title game. Guaranteed.
12.
Guaranteed.
We were undefeated going into that damn Iowa State game that you had us losing.
It's our Baylor. I think it's our Baylor this season. God. I really do.
Dude, I'm throwing myself off a freaking bridge if we're undefeated and we lose Iowa State.
I'm not saying I like it.
Dying.
I have bad vibes about that game.
Oh my God. I will die if we're undefeated and we lose to Iowa State. I will die.
But yeah, so in this scenario, we all have K-State winning the Big 12 either way, and we all have K-State getting an automatic berth to the college football playoff for the first time in team history. And granted, they've only had it around for 10 seasons, but first time in the 12-team playoff as well. So I think that makes for a great season. And I guess just to go through 1 through 16 where you have different teams landing. So I guess to kick it off here, I've got Arizona in 3rd place. Also at 8-1, but losing a tiebreaker game to Utah. So I've got Utah getting the edge. But if Arizona pulls that game off, they're in the title game against us. Then I've got Texas Tech at 4th with a 9-3 overall record, 6-3 in conference. I've got UCF also at 9-3 overall with 6-3 record in conference. KU joins the 9-3, 6-3 crew at 6th place with tiebreakers. Then I've got Iowa State at 7th place with an 8-4 record, which if you would have told me 3 years ago before the conference expanded that 8th place would be 8-4 or 7th place would be 8-4 overall, I would have told you you're crazy because it was a 10-team league. But Iowa State, I've got them 8-4 with a 6-3 conference record. West Virginia at 7-5 with a 4-5 conference record at 9th place. And then the bottom from 10 to 16, I've got TCU not bowl eligible, Colorado not bowl eligible, Houston not bowl eligible, Baylor, Cincinnati, Arizona State, all of them not bowl eligible. Kind of 4-5, and then I've got 4 teams that are 2-7 in conference, and 2 teams that are 1-8 in conference in Cincinnati and Arizona State.
I've also got 4 teams 2-7. I won't go down the list of all the losers, but that Iowa State game, I've got them 6-6. That Iowa State game where they beat us in the final regular season game gets them bowl eligible. I've got Colorado bowl eligible at 6-6, 4-5 in conference. That's kind of nuts. I don't realize how I did that, but I got them also picked. I do have them with a lot of upsets. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy to me. UCF, West Virginia, Texas Tech, KU, all tied at 8-4, battling for that 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th spot. Jesus. Arizona 9-3, tied for at 4th, solo 4th, but in conference, basically, they're tied for 2nd. They're all 7-2. K-State 7-2, Utah 7-2, Arizona 7-2, and obviously Oklahoma State number 1 in the conference.
Wow, Colorado 6-6, huh?
Yeah, looking back on it, that is kind of nuts. But I also
because you listen to that podcast, they hyped you up.
They did. You got to listen to every team's podcast now this year.
I usually do listen to everybody's podcast.
So outside of K-State, Utah, I have Oklahoma State and Arizona 3rd and 4th. They're at 7-2 in conference. I have UCF and KU both with 6-3 conference records, 8-4 overall. I then have Texas Tech, West Virginia 5-4, and TCU at 5-4 in conference.
Ooh, TCU.
And Iowa State, Matt Campbell, they will get bowl eligible 6-6. And then
the same scenario as me.
Colorado will be 3-9 in conference, but 3-9 overall, 3-6 in conference because I have them losing all 3 games, non-conference games. Yeah, I do. I know. And then in Cincinnati, Houston, or Cincinnati at 3-6, Houston, Baylor 2-7, Arizona State and BYU at 1-8 in conference.
I've got this is mine. I've got Arizona State going 0-9 in conference, 1-11.
Yeah, I have them. I'm giving them a benefit of the doubt. They'll get 1 win.
I've got them winning no games in conference. How's that? I don't know. My things are all wonky, but I used my best judgment. I used my best judgment. So at the time, that's what I believed in.
And at the end of the day, this is nothing more than a simulation. So it's not like we are betting our lives on this. But
maybe real life is a simulation. Ever thought about that?
Maybe it is. Arizona. Here's the deal with Arizona State. I had them going 0-9 in conference play until I went back through today, and I didn't really change many of my answers. But I have Arizona State beating BYU in week 13 at home. I think that'll be just the Kenny Dillingham's going to get up for that game and play a BYU team that's kind of deflated at that point and doesn't necessarily have anything. I don't know. I guess they'll have next week to play for bowl eligibility in my simulation. But yeah, anyway, I think it's going to be a fun season regardless. I'm excited for the Big 12 this year.
It's here, boys. It is here.
Based on these predictions, we've all got at least 9 or 10 teams going bowling this year. So that, things are looking like they're going to bolster Brett Yormark's.
It does make sense, though, if you think about it. It does. I mean, just with the bigger conference and whatnot. I did make fun of you all earlier for that, and then when I did it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna
deepest
potentially
conference
happen.
deepest conference in college football, according to Brett.
Yeah.
Gordon.
Dude, we got college football this Saturday. How freaking pumped are
We
you? I'm
do.
so pumped. I'm so
do.
happy for the season. This was a good exercise. It's got my juices flowing. I might not be able to go to sleep later because you guys got me freaking hyped up for an undefeated season going into Farmageddon. I'm fucking mad, dude. So
I would say
pumped.
we should do our lock segment this week, but we're already an hour and 40 minutes in, and none of us have done picks, and we need to get out of here. So, for all of us here at Cocaine Willie, thank you for listening on the podcast feed or watching us on YouTube or Twitter, watching us live. Shout out once again to our sponsors, Pat's Beef Jerky and Annie Mae's Parlor. Remember to visit patsbeefjerky.com and use the promo code CATS for 10% off your next order. And additionally, go to anniemays.com to see their events that they have for the week. I apologize, Annie Mays. I did not look at your events prior to recording the pod, so I don't have the shameless plug of the 2 events this week. That said, go to anniemays.com, and you, like me, can find out what events they have going on this week and next week. Big week for college students as they're moving in and getting all that stuff going. So check out Annie Mays if you're a college student listening to this, and drink legally there if you are of age. And finally, check out thecollegehuddle.com. I have written 4 articles in the last week based off of our offensive and defensive and position group previews. So those are all live on thecollegehuddle.com. And then follow them on social media at College Huddle. We are the proud K-State representative for the College Huddle. Last but not least, follow us at Cocaine Willie on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram, or follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug, baby.
We are all Coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
That's fucking right, dude.
That's right.
Football season, baby.
That's right.